Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bring the Heat podcast. And of course, gracious host to Tap Tony. And well, we're here to talk esports and everything else. And of course, I've got some lovely people joining me: Joe, Quickdraw Basso, lovely Matt, Matsy Senior, and Tom, of course, Bones, if you don't know, our resident ginger as well. How are we feeling this evening, boys?
Well, I guess for starters, you're also ginger, so
Yes.
yeah, you've kind of just like completely thrown him under the bus without throwing yourself under the bus to begin with. So that's hypocritical.
Yeah, look.
But we rocked up 1 p.m. on a Sunday. Just worst timing ever. Tom, we hate you for this because I literally woke up about half an hour ago, and I think everyone else did as well.
It was a
Uh,
suggestion, okay?
Yeah, it
Jokes
was
on
a
you,
suggestion.
boys.
We kind of just went with it. Just gotta roll with it, Just gotta roll with the punches.
Well, jokes on you, boys. I was awake, being a productive human. And it's a bit of a rough one for the boys, but of course we carry on. We should start with our topics here, boys, because we've actually scripted some things. And well, our first one here, using orgs for clout, players, etc., bouncing around brands. How do we feel about that one, boys? Let's have a discussion.
Well, I guess the way of putting that is kind of like everyone gets a ride, the town bicycle, as some people call it, as in some circumstances. But I don't know, man. Like people just bounce around for no reason. I don't think any of you guys have really done that before at all, which is a
Nah.
good sign. So yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think it's about being committed. Even if you're like a caster as well, for a lot of us, we're pretty committed towards certain TOs. Yeah, I'm kind of curious to hear your guys' thoughts because obviously, like myself and Tom are in a position where we see shit like that happen all the time. But I want to kind of hear what you two, both Matt and Tony, I guess, in regards to what you guys think.
Tony, well, I don't know if your thoughts are similar to mine on this, but do you feel like maybe the fact that players are riding the town bicycle, as Joe put it, is because maybe they're expecting more out of orgs than what the org can deliver? Like they're not coming into it with realistic expectations?
Yeah, I think it also, as you said, yeah, expectations are a thing. Players just, I guess, really want the best for themselves and not what's best for an overall team. So you see players, org hop, etc., looking for the next best thing, and they end up in some fucking crazy positions where they probably shouldn't be, and I guess for the org as a whole, having players come in and out, it's just not a great look. And for that player specifically, it's not a great look either.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely in agreement with that. I mean, we could probably name on one hand a lot of people who have kind of bounced around a fair bit. One definitely comes to my mind. Obviously, I've been keeping track, but there's definitely a lot of, I guess, managers who bounce around. There's a lot of youngsters who kind of fly around between teams, which I guess kind of does directly link into the Fortnite side of things, which we'll touch on a little bit later in the podcast. But I don't know. I think it's more so like the case of chasing the bag in some scenarios as well. Because I think for the most part as well, I think those recently, I don't know if any of you guys remember SBG at all, how they were picking up like a shitload of Fortnite players just on high salaries and just using that as like a bit of a clout farm. And then that kind of just went straight down afterwards. But I think it's more so orgs trying to get players for clout and then they just don't do anything. So it's kind of like they just throw money at a wall and just, let the boat sink a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's probably the appropriate way. I think it's a bit of a weird thing.
Yeah, I want to touch on that sort of like orgs signing players and players leaving orgs for other orgs. I won't name the individual. When I was with Bazaar, we obviously Bazaar started up and they gained 1,000 Twitter followers relatively quickly, quicker than some other organizations. They expanded into Fortnite, and a few Fortnite creators are part of Bazaar thought, yep, we're going to be as interactive in Discord and the community. And then once they couldn't get something from Bazaar, they left. They left instantly, or once they felt like, oh, I'm doing better numbers than all of these other creators, I'm going to do absolutely anything and everything to get to a bigger org. Well, now they're part of a team. So it's not really an organization anymore. It's more like a content-based team, and you're not really gaining anything from being in that team. Even though the said individuals have been on multiple different platforms now, other than Snapchat, they've been featured on YouTube and all that sort of stuff. But they haven't really grown in size. They've really just staled out and not used the org assets that they could have had, or they could have used to get brands, signings, all this sort of stuff to actually develop themselves. So they left chasing, as Joe said, chasing the bag, and they haven't gotten anywhere.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way, I guess, to merge into I guess are people being in like realistic with what they're offering people as well? Because I know at least from an org perspective, there's only so much you can offer to certain individuals, and I think Matt's probably experienced that as well when he was with Blessed. I guess it's his first little endeavor into the org space as well. But I kind of think that's a good way to transition into the whole Frag Empire debate. Now, I know Tom's just put his head on his face.
It's
We
a
all know where
fraud.
this is going.
It's a fraud. There is no
So-
way.
Just for a bit of context, so essentially this org's popped up. Now, I wouldn't call them an org again. Fortnite Clan, they say they're a professional esport organization, but again, if you're picking up like 20 plus players and labeling yourself as a professional org, please fuck off. The only one that I could probably argue is Power, obviously where we are, because those guys are doing great guns. But Frag Empire as a whole, I've been discussing this with Miles a little bit, or Venom from Fury, as some of you guys may know. But I think for the most part, one of our players actually went there as well, chasing said bag, which, if he gets the money, good on him. We're cool with that. But I think if you look at the caliber of players they've got, so if I had to just go through the list of people they've got here, first one that stands out to me is Repulse, who literally used to play for Power and had like, man was insane at one point. And I remember I was talking with him, and we're just talking, and it's like, I want 2,000 USD a month. I want to go to America, blah blah blah, and we're just like, holy shit, right? This is not worth it. So I'm kind of on the fence about that as well, because if you think about it, how the fuck are they offering one person 2K a month, and then they have like another 18 players they have, and some of these numbers are being thrown around between like 500 to like $1,000 a month per player? It's like, how the fuck do you just have 40 grand just sitting there as a startup org? Like, I think it's a load of shit personally, but I think from the outside perspective as well, he says he owns like a company or something like that. Not to call him out or anything like that, but we've done a little research and we can't see shit. Like, there's nothing there.
Yeah, it seems pretty sus. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know too much about the Fortnite scene, but when you mentioned this to me, I was just like, yeah, this can't end well. Like, I'm all for the players chasing the bag, but if that bag's not actually there, then like you're kind of just throwing your career away.
You've literally just done it. And I think Gum from Kanga put it well. Like, I was talking to him about it yesterday, and he's basically said he's spending a minimum of, let's say, 3 to 4K a month. I personally think it's more than that, just going off Repulse alone. On average, that's 40 to 60 grand a year you're spending on players. That's a fucking property deposit.
That's just not it.
Like, why? Like, he put this well. Why not just invest in a property? Because, like, if you're trying to boost your social interaction, cool, so be it, nice. But 60 grand a year to do that, like, that's just ridiculous. And even then, like, especially when you're doing it in OS as well, like, your
The numbers
reach is
just
only
don't add up.
limited. No, it doesn't.
We don't have the infrastructure for that either.
Like, again, I think like it's another player salary thing as well. Like, I've argued on about this for ages, where like teams just come in and like just boost everyone's salaries, and then every other player's like, oh, we beat this team before, oh, we're close to them, let's buff our, what we want up as well, and then no one realistically is getting what they need. I just think it's a load of shit personally, because like, again, they're poaching players from other orgs. Like, obviously with us, with Remy going over there, like, I'm not butthurt per se, and neither is Venom, but like, I think it's a case of just trying to, I guess, get a little bit of extra cash, which I can understand. Obviously, as you're a kid, you're trying to do what's best for you, but in some situations, I feel it's just it's too good to be true. I think that's probably the way to put it. Even like when we're like as a casting for a TO as well, Matt and Tony, like
Mm.
you have TOs approach you who say we're going to give you X amount, and then they don't fucking pay
Yeah.
at all.
Oh, oh,
Which
yeah,
Oh,
which
we
will
don't
which will
open
which
that
will
can of worms.
like it's such a similar scenario as well. Like you need to see something in return. Like you need a reputation to be able to do shit like that. And I just think it's insane, honestly, that we see things like that regularly.
yeah.
Yeah, and fluctuated salaries are definitely a thing, and to go back, of course, and rewind it into our next point. If you're a team asking for a heavy bag for your whole roster, and you're not bringing anything to the table other than playing, I feel it's not really worth it. You got to bring something else to the table other than just playing, because sometimes these teams don't perform well. Like we've seen, some of these really high rosters not do well in recent times. And of course, speaking from mind at Valorant, and of course Counter Strike as well. That if you're signing to an org, signing under a salary as well, and you're getting a heavy bag to play, you're expected to do just more than play, though.
Exactly, Tony. You hit the nail on the head. If you're not bringing like content or even wanting to bring content to the organization, then your value goes down as a whole. Even if you have one player out of 5 or 1 out of 4, it's nothing. It's a quarter or a fifth of the percentage that you're marketing yourself out. You need to realize that you need to bring something to the table. You need to be consistent with it, and you also need to be interacting with obviously the content department if that's where you want to end up. As we look at like Iron or let's say Crunchy from Sonics, they bring it to the table every day. Iron streams every day. When he's not playing, he's streaming. He's always playing. He's always streaming. If you're playing every day and you're not streaming your game, or you're in understandable scrims, you can hide your tactics. You don't have to scream those. But if you're just playing the game in ranked or just casual with mates, stream it. Produce content. Have fun. That's what content's all about, and your org will love you for it.
I think that's a really good way. Sorry, Tony, you go first.
No, I was gonna say, I was gonna point to Matt. Matt, how do you because we look at obviously the CS players in the Valorant. Some of them do stream, and two props to them. It's also a little bit of a juggle for some of them because obviously you got work, they scrim afterwards, and then it's kind of hard, I guess, as well, given the infrastructure to do that content. But of course, it's an extra hour here or there couldn't go awry. You can make like a short little TikTok about maybe some cheeky little plays you've done, maybe like a scrim highlight. You could blur out the names, blur out the strats and shit like that. I believe come to mind ShadowNet do that quite well, especially I believe Calamari. He does some banging clips. Matt, I want to get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of players, maybe more towards the younger audience, really just are taking this more or less as just something to do after school, where they just think they can play and then try and work towards their dream, but they don't realize the grand scale of things where you actually do have to put in a little bit more than just playing. Maybe you push out a stream here or there, and you touched on ShadowNet earlier. I think that they're doing a really good job of that, where every single one of their players is streaming at least once a week, always pushing out content. And I feel like it's really important to give yourself that added value as a player, because then you just become more marketable. And then yourself, your own brands can grow alongside the org's own branding. And that's what it's all about, just building that working relationship. So then you can both just go to the stars.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong in the slightest. And I mean, I guess that's a really good way to transition into like conducting yourself, I guess, as a pro player and also as a creator as well. Because I think we all have seen little bits and pieces of beef on Twitter recently. Obviously, between Ferg and Barkey recently, where there was a bit of a tantrum. Not a tantrum per se, but a little bit of a dig, I guess, at individuals who are kind of just talking shit when they're playing just casually in games, and they're not. I wouldn't say like like the top dog or the highest caliber player. Like they're still trying to get there, but you need to have I guess a little bit of self respect, because obviously if you're a player playing for a brand, or you're trying to I guess grow your branding per se as well, the last thing you really want to do is chat shit to literally anybody, especially when it's like your direct competitor, because especially somebody who has that presence in the scene and is well known, like you could easily just end your career like straight away. Like it's insane.
I think you could blacklist yourself from scrims as well, because like some players like they do that and they just like get a reputation. Especially of course speaking the Valorant scene, and as you said, Bucky and Ferg, their recent debacle. Yeah, like it leaves a sour taste in people's mouth, and that potentially blacklists you from scrims, potentially cuts you off from probably that higher level practice that some of these teams probably need in this region.
Oh, I'm just putting it out there. I love the beef. Bring
You
back
love
the
the beef?
rivalries. Bring back some like competitive rivalry into the game.
COD
Like,
lobbies, 2012.
where's the storylines lately?
Mm.
Like the only storyline I'm seeing is Sonics can't beat Renegades in Valorant. That's the only storyline I've seen. And yet, in
Yeah,
our region, what is that,
Uh,
Order?
I think
Order, everyone can't beat Order.
no,
Yeah,
I
everyone
think,
can't beat
I
Order.
think
Like,
I think really, I said this once. Like I'm not like against saying this again. I feel it's a case of Order. Like they're not the greatest they can be. I've said this for a while. I feel they're a team that's definitely improving, but they're not like the the level of what Sonics was originally when they were here before they went to NA. And I just feel everyone else just can't catch up with them. Like I said this before, I think probably Wildcard, now that they've had that shuffle again, I feel that's probably the only team that can maybe contest them at the moment. Mindfreak adding in Ferg, I feel is a little bit like, I don't know. He's been playing well, but I still think there needs to be a little bit more to come from them. And I just feel the rest of the scene as a whole kind of needs to shuffle around a little to try and catch up with those three core rosters.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, we don't know what happens behind the scenes. We can put pen to paper and say these players will work good together, obviously, and then you just look at them and they hate each other. But yeah, I guess the Valorant scene as a whole at the moment, I guess there's no real rivalries. Obviously, Order at the top, they're not, as good as what Sonics was, but there's no one else can catch up with them and be those rivals. Wildcard's getting there. And I guess like on the CS side of things, Order's actually starting to contest Renegades a little bit more, which is awesome to see. And I guess really in other scenes as well. Like there's plenty of other teams, I guess, notably Fury PUBG shitting on everyone, Ground Zero Rocket League shitting on everyone. League of Legends is quite close now, from what I've seen. Gravitas put together a ragtag team of players and they're top 4 at the moment and had a couple of upsets. So the league's quite close. And I think it's kind of interesting, honestly, because some of the scenes at the moment, like before when I was doing the Mind Clickers podcast as well, that Matt did as well, when I was talking in there, it's like there's always one dominant team in every single game. In this current day, in a couple of those games, now there's actually teams contesting each other, but there's still a few that are like, there's one team that stands out from the rest.
Yeah, like in Call of Duty, that would be Chiefs and Mindfreak would be the top 2 in there. In the days, you throw Renegades in there now, and those 3 teams are now the core rosters, the core sort of holding it up. I'm not too sure if Renegades are still a part of Call of Duty, but I know that Mindfreak and Chiefs are still there. But
Chiefs had their roster released. I know that. Renegades are still with that core team as well as what they normally are.
Yeah, well, those to say, let's put Mindfreak and Renegades at the top. That's there in that scene, and you see in the amateurs down lower that there are. Got a wild puppy in my room now.
Gone astray.
Yeah, it's gone
Special
astray.
guest. It's
Yeah,
not Matt
special
today.
guest.
It's actually the dog.
Yeah. She's made an appearance. She was asleep. Now she's awake. But yeah, Call of Duty and Mindfreak Renegades doing their thing. It would be good to see some of these amateur teams in every game. Try and if you can't scrim against the top teams, go for the Divi 2 teams, sort of thing. The teams that are just pushing them. Try to expand yourself. Or try to create those rivalries where you're borderline beating them sometimes, you're losing to them sometimes, and yeah, just bring it to the table each and every day that you play.
Show him out.
Just
Show
have
him out.
moments.
Get him out. Get him out. I guess that goes over to our next point, and I guess for some of these, as we said, like tier 2 teams, how would you go about, of course, coming from the amateur circuit to now being, up there with some of the teams, like they've been playing against some of these top teams. How do you reach that next level where you like reach out to an org and go, hey, we'd love to represent your organization, but some of them falter in that next step in reaching out to orgs. I know, Joe, especially, you've received probably a very sketchy amount of DMs to Fury, saying, "Hey, we'd love to play for you," but they don't go about it the right way.
Straight away, two key things. Come at me with a resume. If you don't, get the fuck out of my DMs. Secondly, if you're a team that approaches an org and asking for salary and you ask what we can give to you, fuck off. Because you're the ones that put the market value on yourself. If you think you're valued that amount and we hit back saying you're not, don't get shitty, because you're only thinking about your game. You're not thinking about the content, the brand representation, the content you can produce for the org, all those little key things. Don't mean to sound like a dick, but just please think about it. Like, it makes my life easy, makes everyone's life easy. And I guess that's what I've been coaching as well, because even like with the the Oceanic Esports Association that I run as well, like a lot of the orgs have finally kind of just hit that caliber where they're like, okay, we're not going to accept a team unless they hit us with a resume. And that's kind of the professionalism you need to see, especially in OS, where we don't have opportunities. There's teams that want to put themselves out there, but they're just not professional enough to get themselves like a resume done up as well. But yeah, I think that's probably a key thing, because even recently, we had a Fortnite manager hit our DMs, and he's like something along the lines of, "I want to manage your Fortnite department. I see they've done very well, blah blah blah." And we hit back at him, and we're like, "We don't fucking have a Fortnite team. Like,
Doesn't exist anymore."
like we dropped the whole team a month ago. Like, why are you asking this? Like, people just don't do that little bit of extra research on those little bits and pieces, which, it can be pivotal. Not to say it looks like you're an idiot per se, but you need to just
It
do
shows
a little bit of
interest.
extra research. It shows interest, yeah. Like, again, if you're a fan of a team as well, like, the players, the org, what teams they have, like small things like that. That's kind of just like where you show that little bit of extra care. Because again, if you kind of just hit up, especially if you're a creator as well, and I guess as Tom's probably dealt with in the past as well, where we're approaching individuals or they're approaching us, it's a bit iffy if they don't have a set stream schedule or bits and pieces like that, because you kind of want people who are committed, right? And if you hit my DMs or someone else is saying, "I want to do this for you, this team's here," or "I want to do this and bring this team with me," it's like you kind of need to level a little bit with what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, let's talk about that content quick when like they approach you. Yeah, if you're gonna come to a content manager that's with an org, don't come here and be like, "Hi, I'm a streamer. This is what I stream." No, I want all your links. I want your TikTok. I want your YouTube. I want your Twitch. I'm already looking at your Twitter. You DM me on Twitter. You DM me on Discord.
Analytics.
Send me your Twitter. I need to see your numbers, because at the end of the day, content and what orgs look at is numbers. There's nothing else outside of it. You could be the best streamer in the world and have 4 viewers. No one's going to sign you if you just come, "Here's my Twitch." Because we can look up your Twitch. We can see your stats. Alright, don't lie about your stats either, because we can just research you in a hole. At the end of the day, everything is online and everything is tracked. Especially with Twitch, YouTube, there's Social Blade, there's Sully Gnome, there's Twitch Stats Tracker. You can even search up Twitters and YouTubes, all on that, see how your growth is going. Just come with everything that you need. Like when you go to a job interview, you have all your qualifications with you. Bring your qualifications for your content. That's all we ask.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I guess to touch on we don't actually have this written down, but I guess if you are one of those people reaching out to an organization, maybe even if you're not, like, if they don't think you're at that level where they could potentially sign you as a creator or a player, maybe reach out for some advice for, like, some of those higher players or content creators that are up there. And well, some of them are pretty busy, but I know a fair few creators, a fair few players that you just reach out. They're more than happy to give you advice. I believe Bones, of course, we're speaking from a player perspective. I believe Sonic Bob, you reached out to him about Sova, and he taught you some things. He let you know how to play it a little bit.
And Bob sent me some links and some lineups that for Sova early on before they went over to NA, and I actually appreciated that. That was something that I didn't expect, but yeah, it did. It's the same old theory. Like Gary V has spoken about it. if you DM 500 people that are like doing the same thing you're doing or trying to learn the same thing you're doing, and you get one response, that's one response. That's good. All those other 499 people, they can go get screwed because that one person's taking the time out to help you, try and help you achieve something that you can't. And so same thing with like, let's say Sonic Bob. I think it's she as well, isn't it, Tony?
Yeah.
Yep, she. She, lovely person, gave me some guides and lineups. Sent me some YouTube like clips as well. But like, here you go. This is what you need to look at, especially in like the lower ranks where you don't see people do these lineups. And I still don't see some of the lineups that I do in game be used by the opposition. And I see lineups that I don't use, and I go, "What the hell is that?" And you just got to do your research and even just reach out to people. They will help you. Everyone helps each other along the line.
Yeah. And I guess to tie in to our point about lineups, and especially Matt, I know we love to send cheeky little TikToks back and forth, but sometimes they're Valorant and CS related. There's a ton of like TikToks out there that are like content wise really, really sound in like helping some of these lower ranked players get up there.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of content that's actually been coming out on TikTok, and it really is showing its value as a platform. Like, at first, some people might have thought it was a bit of a joke, only for kids type of thing, but everyone can get pretty good use out of it, really. Like, I've seen a few creators who have started out on TikTok and have really just blown up as a result of it because the outreach that you can get through TikTok is immense. You might pop up on anybody's For You page, and then you could be just really setting goals from there. But yeah, there's a lot of important content, as you were saying, Tony, like the lineups, for example. You might even see some crazy plays, which maybe you could see on YouTube, but then they have TikTok as another platform. It's just really realizing the importance of the outreach that you're trying to achieve, and that can just increase your own brand value.
Yeah. I mean, I guess not just on the, I guess like the esports side of things as well. Like there's plenty of different content available on there from, esports stuff to, if you're having a shit day and you just want to laugh, there's plenty of people on there who just produce some content that, can make you have a giggle here and there. But I guess the key thing for people who want to try do it, but they're afraid of getting judged, I think TikTok's probably one of the only platforms where I think it's the most harshest. Putting yourself out there, whether it's dancing, humor, clips, whatever. Obviously, you're going to get judged no matter what way, depending on the person that interacts with your content. But personally, myself, I wouldn't do it because I just couldn't see myself doing that personally. I think there's plenty of people who want to do it, but they're just too afraid to. Personally, I'm one of those individuals. I want to try and do something like that, but I just can't because I just don't know what I'm meant to do. But I feel like it's definitely a platform that can make you grow. We've seen it time and time again from certain individuals. Like, despite the fact that the top dogs on the platform don't really have any talent at all. Sorry to say that. I'm just gonna put it out there. Some can sing, do those little bits and pieces as we've seen recently as well. But I kind of just feel people kind of need to put themselves out there a little bit more because obviously YouTube is another one where you get comments and stuff where people can either give you criticism or if it's just straight up just BMing you. Like everywhere you're going to get something. There's always going to be one person out there that's having a shit day that's trying to make your day worse.
Yeah, fuck those people.
Yeah, not wrong.
Look, I've been waiting to swear and no one else has swore, so I'm just being honest.
We're swearing like half the fucking time anyway, so it's fine. But yeah, I feel like even then, like you kind of just got to put yourself out there a little bit more. Like judgment's great, the ban button exists, the mute button exists, the report button exists. That's why they're there. Just do it. Put yourself out there. Try to do something. You may get something from it as well. Like I've got a mate who literally just spreads kindness on the platform. Man's verified. He's got 2.5 million followers. Local in Adelaide as well. Like he's just a genuine good bloke who's just out there doing stuff for people, and that's his content. Man gets like 1 million views a video, and all he's doing is buying like a Elvis Presley record and giving it to a 70-year-old. Like it's small things like that. It's not even like funny or anything like that. It's just good content because you're seeing good things happen to people.
Wholesome.
Exactly.
Everyone loves a bit of wholesome.
You want.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you want to be seeing.
Yeah, but on like the idea about the block, the mute, the like report button, a view is a view. Like an interaction is interaction. Across YouTube and TikTok, interactions boost your reach. And I'm not too sure about like Twitch and all that, because obviously Twitch is like, yeah, it's a viewer for a split second sort of thing, and then you go back down. It doesn't really matter too much, but at the end of the day, it still boosts your stats. And you know, you're like, oh, thanks for your time, I appreciate it. You know, you're actually helping them by going out of your way to like abuse someone or something. So it's pointless from the other like end of the spectrum to be doing that.
Yeah, and I guess to tie that back in, speaking of I guess picking up a view here or there, large scale pickups in our region recently, of course, as well, internationally. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that comes to mind, but I know you can, Joe.
So straight off the bat, locally, Luke 12 and Shoot to Kill going to TSM. That's fucking mental. That's up there
Yeah.
as like that's top in my opinion. That was sick. Like
Yeah. That was leaked a
as
while
soon
ago,
as-
wasn't it?
it was kind of leaked, but not really. But like as soon as I saw it, I basically shit myself. Like that's colossal, especially like if it just was some some PUBG player from Australia just getting picked up to quite literally now the biggest brand in esports. Obviously after that crypto.
We don't talk about FaZe.
Talk about FaZe. Obviously, I don't like talking about FaZe anyway. I think they're overrated.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go there.
If we're gonna do international pickup,
Come on,
though,
hit me with it. Hit me with it. Come on.
what
let's
about
do it.
FaZe Kaylee?
Nah,
FaZe
just fuck off.
Kaylee. How the hell has this happened? One of the most, I want to say out there sort of people. She has no filter.
If you want to put brain risks at the top, you compare. She's literally like probably top of that list. I think it's kind of cool personally.
I think it's gangster by FaZe. I think they're doing
Yeah.
a show they don't give a fuck. Like, say what
Yeah.
you want to say. You're here for content, and that's fucking content.
Mm.
And it's good to see them branching out of this kid-friendly Fortnite phase that they had for so long. All those pickups, those
Right.
Fortnite young kids.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, they've still got that going, obviously, but I think it's kind of cool. I think, like, on the larger scale of things, I think the TSM pickup and probably Kaylee as well. I think that's two of the, bigger sides. Now, I'm not 100% sure as to, I guess, what else is happening. Now, you guys talk. I've just got a phone call real quick. Just give me a moment.
Oh,
Sorry.
he's got special messages here. It's a sponsor.
Nah, I got work calling me because it's smart like that.
Yeah, a little bit of a business. Yeah, I guess domestically there hasn't been too much happening, as we said, the PUBG stuff. But internationally, I feel there's been a few big things. Matt, do you think, I guess CS wise, that some of these teams, has there been anything recently happening there?
I don't feel there's been too much recently. Like you think about the I believe it was one of the Astralis players going to Ninjas in Pajamas.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. His
Device.
name's Yep.
Device. Yeah.
Joe
yeah.
would know that one. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the big pickups that I see recently. But other than that, like you really haven't seen too much else really shaping up in CS. There's a few like releases here or there internationally, but nothing really other than that. Like everyone's just kind of going with the flow at the moment from what I can see. And the rosters that are currently participating have been really doing quite well. Like we saw Renegades actually playing in the latest IEM, I believe, and they definitely put on an impressive performance, even going up against the likes of Navi. I know that Renegades had the whole region behind them there, but unfortunately they weren't able to overcome the Terminator in Simple. Just a little bit too sharp for that one. I don't know if you were watching the games, but oh boy, I wouldn't want to be meeting face to face with that man.
Yeah, Simple's a deadly gun, I guess, and yeah, it's always good to see our region, I guess, getting around some of our local talent as well as international now talent. Speaking, of course, of Renegades in the IEM, I want to bring back, of course, your point about Device joining this NIP roster. I guess a little bit more added firepower overall because Device, 25 years of age, he's been playing for a long time. He's been revered as probably one of the best in the scene in recent years, and he's got a lot to prove, Matt. And of course, he made that Astralis era what it was with, of course, the rest of his teammates as well, giving credit to all of them as well. Device is a player, and an organization like NIP, I'd have to say that would probably be one of the biggest signings this year.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Like, there's really nothing else that can really top that at this point. Like, that made a huge statement because no one saw it coming. Everyone was just like, huh? And I'm sure that some people are still feeling the effects of that one as well, really. But do you feel like there might be some other waves really like happening between rosters? Maybe not just across CS. Do you feel like, as you were touching on with Valorant, that maybe there could be a shuffle in the works?
Yeah, I guess Joe as well was speaking about it earlier with the Valorant scene, I guess, here in Oceania. Definitely maybe some much needed roster shuffles for, I guess, some of these teams to crack it at that level. We saw it from Wildcard, of course. The, I guess, revered second place for a while. They still had a little bit of issues dealing with order, but I guess now with this pickup that they've gotten recently on this wildcard roster, they could definitely start to do some damage, and maybe that's needed of some of these lower tier teams. But of course, we spoke about it just before. A bit of discrepancy between some of the players. Some players don't want to play together. Just push that aside, like work through the issues, and I guess you could find yourself as one of those top teams in the region if you're just willing to make that change.
Absolutely.
I think that's the case in any business, though. Like,
Mm.
if I'm gonna put pen to paper, some of my business partners, I fucking hate talking to them sometimes, but like you just got to make it work. Like even in your actual job as well, you may hate some people that you work with, but you're stuck with them. So make a compromise. Try and make it work. Yeah, I guess I know I missed a little. What were we specifically touching on, Tony? Like what would be
Basically,
Oh,
Device.
We spoke about Device going to NIP, and I guess that's probably one of the biggest international
Grail.
signings, the holy grail of Counter-Strike at the moment.
As
Will
a big
we
fan
see?
of Tom Cruise.
He's
himself.
he's a good-looking man. I guess to question Joe, now that you're back, would there be any potential other roster shuffles that will maybe coloss that or go on par with that? Because Device to NIP was a major move.
I know it wasn't Reason, but Tens obviously previously that was also quite good,
Mm.
obviously with Sentinels, but that's self-explanatory from what we've seen. I don't know. I feel like Kenny S and MBK are kind of floating around a bit. I think they're meant to be going to a Valorant team, but like nothing's really been confirmed. And I think Kenny S to Valorant would kind of spike a roster to be a lot better in EU. Straight away, I feel this new G2's kind of had a rebuild in the EU at the moment in Valorant. So yeah, they're doing all right. I feel maybe Kenny S is someone like Heretics, I think it is.
Heretics, yeah.
Half their team got poached by G2, so I feel that would probably be a nice little rebuild process for them.
Yeah, no, this G2 roster is a little bit interesting. I've just pulled it up because I couldn't quite think of it offhand. Mixwell, Calder, Nuke. I believe Nuke is also an old CS player from memory.
He is, yeah.
Yeah, Calox, Avova. I haven't quite heard of these two guys, but hopefully.
So Avova. Now I was watching their little finals campaign against Ascent, who just absolutely shit on them. Sorry,
Ascend.
Destroyed him.
Ascend. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they went 3-1, won it. Avova had an absolutely shit first map. Like he was like 0-17 at one point, which is just not what you want to see. Second and third map though, man absolutely popped the fuck off, and he just dumps at everyone. I think it was on Haven. If you pulled up the stats, Tony, I think it was something like that. Like he just went hard that whole game.
21-14 on Omen. That's
man popped. It was
of
awesome.
35. Headshot rate of 35. Mike, Jesus.
It's kind of like he just saved it just for like the next game. He's just like, Ascent's shit. Fuck it.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with Ascent. It's too basic. It's like the Dust 2 of Valorant at this point. But I don't know, man. I feel that's probably the only thing I'd probably mention because nothing else is really standing out to me. If I'm gonna be real, I guess internationally, I mean, just looking at the events that's happened at the moment, like Australia's losing to G2 last night. That was a close game. I stayed up to watch the second map for that. Third map was close, 16-14 loss. Na'Vi just dumps at FaZe, typical Na'Vi fashion. I'm surprised FaZe went that far. But yeah, I think that's kind of a good way to guess end it, because there's not really much happening, because it's still within the main season. There's not really much off time at the moment for teams to shuffle around a little bit.
I guess to tie that in as well, Matt, speaking strictly Valorant, and as Joe said, the season's still kind of going for Counter-Strike, I guess, but for Valorant, it's kind of dying down now, especially here nationally. We've got, the VOT drawing to a close now. Some of these teams, just trying to get that spot in that regional finals and trying to get into, of course, the last chance qualifiers to potentially go over to NA. And I guess that draws on, I don't think a point we've reached on, but play styles, especially here in Oceania. We saw, of course, over in the campus clutch, the New Zealand boys, unfortunately, I believe it was 2-3 in the bracket or something like that. They played well. I have to give them credit, but there's some of those teams that are overseas, like in the Europe region, of course, Spain as well, just looking on a different level compared to the Oceanic teams.
Always been like that, though. I'm plainly honest. When you look at the play styles, EU and NA have always been ahead.
I want to hear. I'll let my thoughts on it in a minute. I'll just let Matt speak for the time being.
I feel like the fact that EU and NA are better just comes down to the opportunities that they have available in their region, where you have through the campus clutch now, but in terms of, I know NA anyway, there was some esports scholarships available for players, I'm pretty sure, where they could have that dedicated time in order to obviously practice and work towards their dreams, and then potentially end up on a league academy team, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so I guess touching on that, both BAPIP and Tally, those two were the ones that went to NA after their little campaign with Legacy. So they went to, I think it was Immortals Academy, and I think it was Golden Guardians off the top of my head, I think. But they're now back in OS, Matt. So they went over there, and then they got repoached by Peace in OCE. So I don't know, man. Even, I guess, internationally, obviously we've struggled in the past trying to win events and little bits and pieces like that. Obviously, what it just comes down to is the infrastructure, if I'm going to be honest, because in a lot of scenes, analysts, therapists, nutritionists.
Bones look shocked. Yeah. Bones, did you not know this?
Nah, therapists. I'm like, what are these kids got problems with, man?
The only, dude, there's literally Pocket Psych in OCE. He does Sonic Val, Sonic PUBG, CS as well for Vertex, I think, and another team as well.
She does bits.
Yeah, she does everything. But even then, she's therapists are big, man. I was talking to Lockie. Literally, Renegade's Rocket League coaches Lockie, who owns Mind Clickers, right? So that other podcast for the esports stuff. He's an actual sports psychiatrist. So he's doing bits as well. I can't believe you've not known this. That's insane.
I always thought, that it was more based around outside of the game sort of stuff. But now that speaking about it, it's more based on the game and how they're mentally coping with the lifestyle. Yeah, I'm not thinking it's that. I thought it was oh my god, I'm gonna cry tonight because this kid said I was shit. What the fuck?
No. This is a case of if you're choking something, because I remember Ground Zero before they had that big stint where they just absolutely shit on everyone for a whole year. They've got 258 grand in prize winnings this year from their therapist alone helping them. They've dominated every event just from one bloke actually helping them out as well. It's big stuff, man. I think it was in PUBG where I was talking to the PUBG guys about this, because all the Thai teams and stuff, they're literally owned by soccer clubs. So they've got dedicated nutritionists, therapists, everything you need to be able to do that. Now, comes down to infrastructure again. I think it's kind of cool that happens. You don't necessarily need it if you don't think you do. But I think a lot of players don't really think about that type of stuff. I think a lot of people can improve from just having someone there to give them advice.
Shit. Fucking hell. I didn't know that. More you know. Fucking...
Food for thought. And I guess, as, to tie it back into our conversation about VOT, Matten. Lands recently, you know, as we said, the IEM Cologne, and of course Campus Clutch. How possible, I guess, I guess, how successful have these recent attempts at LAN been?
I feel like internationally, the recent attempts at LAN have been good. I feel like, especially with IEM, it was met with a great reception. You saw a lot of posts on Twitter, like saying that it's like a breath of fresh air. You know, it's like they've come back from a nightmare and it's back to reality now, where they're finally able to play real CS again. Like the energy on LAN is just absolutely unmatched.
I guess as well, safety wise, they've I believe as well the Campus Clutch. I have to give props to Red Bull. Safety wise, having one of the teams, of course, you know, still be in lockdown quarantine, but still able to play the event. Of course, playing from their hotel, and you know, I can't remember which team it was, but props to them. I believe they played pretty well.
I think it was the Pakistan team. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think. Now, I'm going to touch on Cologne a little because it was an absolute colossal fuck up with that. Because one of the players on Heroic got COVID again. So basically, they had to play in quarantine during the group stages. And also, the Spirit team were on a flight with a bunch of COVID cases. They had to quarantine as well. So, not necessarily a fuck up on ESL's part, but I think it's just a fuck up on the airline's perspective for at least the Spirit side of things. Like ESL did well to compensate for that and get them all still playing while they're in quarantine. Props to them, but it kind of shows like one, you know, an organizer can be really good, but there's always other factors that are in there that kind of just makes everything just, you know, fall to pieces. I guess, you know, the biggest successful ones has been League overseas when they had their event in China. PUBG when they had their Continental Series in Korea, they did really well with that. Campus Clutch, as you were touching on, Iceland, like there's lanes happening everywhere. But I think obviously domestically, shit's hit the fan. Obviously, New South Wales has basically just gone, fuck it, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to let the shit fly over. We don't want to lock shit down. We don't want to do anything. Victoria's just sitting there, just going, you guys are giving us some cases. We're going to lock this shit down straight away, unlike you idiots. And then Tom and myself, we're fucking vibing. We're loving life. We're in the worst state in the country, but we're still having a good time.
Yeah,
it's a great feeling.
I can walk outside with no mask. I can go shake someone's hand.
It's chilling.
Yeah.
I can shake someone's hand. I can go to a club if I wanted to. Not like I'm socially capable enough of doing that, but you know what? The idea's there. I can do what I want at this point. But yeah, I guess that's the pub's the main thing. All right, I haven't been to one at all. I guess a bev sometimes, boys, but I think it's a good way to lead it to PAX because now that there's more cases coming to Victoria and New South Wales is a little bit on the fucked side of things. We've got
New South Wales.
3 months until PAX is meant to start. Now, at the moment, I think it's meant to be going ahead from what I can see. Nothing's really been announced, nothing at all. I personally think Victoria should be able to lock all the cases down before PAX, personally. But I think a lot of people in New South Wales is going to be a case of they're just not going to be able to go if it does go on. Unless somehow all these cases disappear in 3 months, which I think is highly unlikely with how everything's going. But yeah, I need something, you know? Like, it's been like 2 years since
IEM.
we've had an event. IEM 2019, I think, was the last event. No, MEO, I think it was, actually.
Yeah, it might have been MEO.
It was MEO, and we were so keen for 2020. Everything got canned.
Yep.
And PAX is like the only thing that's on this year for us. And it's like, we just need it to happen. Like, I need a break. I'm going fucking insane at work, man. Like, I just need to get out somewhere and just do something. Like, we've got so much shit planned for it as well. I love planning for shit, but I'm just so afraid. I really don't want this to get canned.
Yeah, I think we're all a bit scared for it, honestly. I don't know if we've got enough masks to hand out though at PAX if it does go ahead.
I've got 300. So...
that's not enough. That's not enough. We need to be able to fill up the Yarra River. We need to fill up the Yarra.
We're going to be sitting there at the front of the event with a box of Fury masks, charging people $5 a pop.
I wouldn't even do that.
Free marketing. And then everyone's just like, fuck, they've started a cult. Ah, shit.
Yes.
Why does everyone have one of these masks?
Why does everyone have one of these? It's like when I was at work and everyone was wearing them. Everyone's like, "What the hell's going on here?" And I'm just like, "Fuck if I know.
Branding.
People just want them. Branding,
Mm.
free marketing. Tom's wearing a hat right now as well. Get your merch.
Get your
I don't
merch.
know. Get your merch.
Nice and warm.
Yeah, I guess that's also a nice way to lead into the COVID situation AUNZ as well. I think like I don't know if any of you guys have been vaccinated other than me, but like I just feel a lot of people, not saying you guys are some of these people, but I just think some people are just stupid personally. Like there's been people booking appointments and then not rocking up. Because what happens is they prepare the vaccines for when the person arrives. And if that person doesn't rock up, they get thrown away because they have to be like they're inside of like a refrigerated area up until you get vaccinated. So there's been anti-vaxxers literally just not rocking up to waste vaccines.
I'll take them. I've been waiting. Come on, what are they doing? I believe because obviously both my parents are healthcare workers, so they're on the front line, kind of dealing with it all. So I was like, oh yeah, surely I can get a vaccine, and I've been on the waiting list. And I find out it's like 40 and above, and I was just like, all right, well that makes sense. But at the same time, I want the Jap, homie. Give me the 5G. Like, what's going on?
Give me superpowers. God damn.
We got 5G coverage finally, baby. Let's
You got
Wants
Wi-Fi in the garage?
Yeah.
Shout out to Vodafone.
No.
Non-sponsored.
Personally, I wouldn't get any coverage with them whatsoever. But shout out to Vodafone.
Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel the whole vaccine thing. Obviously, I got in early because I'm regional. I've got asthma. I'm a retail worker. Like literally all of those, I just got both my vaccines in a month, so I'm chilling. But I think it's a struggle as well because I think the Renegades guys going overseas, they didn't get vaccinated. From my knowledge, at least, I know the PUBG guys that we have that want to go overseas at the end of the year for the event, they need to get vaccinated, but they just can't because the government won't let them. Isn't that
can't they
ironic?
get done
You
as
get to-
sporting?
I don't
Can't
think
get done
it
on the
counts.
sporting?
That's the thing.
Because you
Like,
can get a sporting visa.
you can get a sporting visa, which I know PUBG can, esports TOs can help with that. But I think it's ironic how you look at the stats, right? We're literally the least vaccinated country globally. Like right now, we're the least out of everyone. America is at the top. So I think COVID's never going to disappear. It's literally like the flu, as we've discussed. But people just need to get vaccinated, but they can't because they're making so many specific requirements for it that it's just eliminating everyone else. I think it's a load of shit personally. Because you say get vaccinated, but they fucking can't because you won't let that happen. Like, I just don't get it.
Well, I'm pretty sure, going back to that anti-vax stuff, I'm pretty sure when you fill out the form, don't you have to put down your name, your address, and your phone number?
You do.
And it's a
Yeah.
legal document?
So, yeah. So, from
So why the
what
fuck
I
aren't they just finding
understand-
these people? Fine them.
Yeah,
Fine them otherwise make it 10 grand.
That I don't know. Which
Put some of these people in
I
debt.
wish they would, honestly. Like, I wish they would find people like that, but
Take a kidney from
I don't
them.
know. I
Take a
think
kid-
NZ's done take a kidney.
Oh,
One
God.
kidney per client sounds like a plan.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
50K.
New Zealand. Nah, yeah, covers 5 people. We're chilling. I think New Zealand's done well though. Like obviously they've had like 2 or 3 cases, but I think they're one of, if not the least, COVID affected countries globally. So I think it's New Zealand, Iceland, China had like a spike at the start when it originally started. Now they've got probably about 20 cases.
It's because they
on
spread
average.
it and then they got rid of it.
That's not how it works.
I'm on the
Give us
side
the
of
cure.
where
It's not a computer virus where it's
Nah,
like
give
it
us
just
the
scatters
cure.
between.
this is a friggin' what's it called?
Conspiracy.
What's
Like,
what's
welcome
it-
back to
it's-
the Anti-Vaxxers podcast.
what's it called? It's like a weapon. It's like what
Today we're going
the
to talk about
Germans did.
5G and how it gives you cancer.
Bioweapon or something.
Yeah, it's a
Bioweapon.
biochemical weapon. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what China have done. They've spread
don't
it
know.
out and then they've kept themselves safe because they were the first zone. So they can just
Oh,
evolve from it quicker. That's right. I've gone there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I think that's a good way to finish that topic off. Listen, PAX, I hope it happens. I don't have my hopes up at the moment. Fingers crossed it does. If you're not vaccinated and you can get vaccinated, do it, please. I know Like, just do it. Don't do it for yourself. Do it for the the 80-year-old woman down your road.
Do it
Like,
for
do it for the
Pakistan.
old people.
Do it for
Do
the
it for
boys.
Pakistan. Do it for the boys.
Still for Fury.
Just think about people. Stop being a selfish little fuck and just go and get vaccinated if you can.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say on that. But I think the last topic we're going to cover, I think it's kind of cool that we're going to cover this because I think it was a smart idea that I put into this. AU versus NZ esports and the current infrastructure, which I personally think is a battle between Order and Shadownet. Now, Order has Dosh, Shadownet has Community. I want to hear your thoughts on this, fellas, because I think it's kind of interesting in regards to both the approaches that are happening with this.
Yeah, I guess we start with Order because recently, I speak recently, in the past, of course, 6 months or so, they've gotten themselves an office in Melbourne. They're now Melbourne-based with an office, and I think that's pretty cool because they've been co-running a few things. They did the Nova Invitational, of course, for Valorant. They've currently doing the Oceanic TFT series, which is really, really sick to see, and that's, I guess, to speak about the infrastructure and I guess the investments that Order are getting to pull off some of these events and pull off like having a premiere of location in Melbourne.
Wait, you said they have an office building now?
Yeah, they have an office.
What, doesn't Direwolves have an office as well?
No, so Direwolves have their office in New Zealand. I think it's in Auckland. If I'm not
I thought they had an
mistaken.
office space in
'cause I know-
Sydney.
So the orgs that have office locations, Chiefs doesn't actually have one. Order has Melbourne. Direwolves, they're AU NZ based. They're primarily NZ and Auckland. Bliss is up in Brisbane. I think it's kind of cool to see how it's been distributed around the place. But I think Order has money. Not obviously trying to talk shit about the org at all. I love what they're doing at the moment with everything. But some of the ways they're kind of dipping their toes into certain things, like they're doing little bits and pieces in Valorant, but not as much as we thought they would. TFT is a bit of a weird one, personally. I think that's been okay from what I can tell. I'm not sure. Obviously, there's some marketing behind it, and they probably have an idea of what they want to do with it. But I personally haven't paid too much attention to TFT. I think it's kind of original that doing that, and also that Tony Hawk skating thing.
That's
I'm
sick.
wondering what the fuck is going on there, but you know what?
It
It works.
No bags.
They've got the setup for that going, and I guess on the other side for Shadownet, right? Like they're in New Zealand doing the high school league stuff, teaching kids about esports, and the pathways you can take in that, and doing the university leagues. I think that's good as well. Was it a case of NZ, like those guys doing the campus clutch thing?
Yeah. So they ran all of, I believe, I don't know who it was partnered with, but of course Red Bull did all the qualifiers for the New Zealand-based teams, and there was quite a few teams, I believe, that signed up. They had a whole like LAN thing for the New Zealand finals for Mama's boys to qualify for then the Oceanic final, which we didn't hear all too much about, which is a little bit interesting, I guess. Considering being based in Australia, we didn't hear too much about the Australian-based campus clutch teams, which is a little bit of an interesting one. But yeah, Shadownet, I believe, also, as you said, running the high school league, doing massive things. Campus clutch, of course, being massive recently as well. New Zealand, I believe, as well, have a governing body for esports. So that's probably why they're doing so well at the moment. Having a LAN, having all these like really, really cool incentives for esports as a whole.
Yeah.
I kind of wish we had that available to us here, if I'm gonna be real. I don't go to uni personally, and I don't intend on going to uni anytime soon, but I feel even with the whole teams, I mentioned this yesterday, Tony, as well, I hate how they're not going off the uni names for the teams that go overseas. Because I think having the name Mama's Boys or something like that on a LAN event, I think that's a little bit whack, personally. I think it should have
pretty
been
cool.
like I think it should have been like Team New Zealand. Make it generic, like it's literally the first Valorant international event other than the official Iceland one, where you have different teams from different nationalities, and I feel probably either Team NZ or Team Pakistan or even just the uni names, because again, the unis are the ones that are helping these players get there in the first place as well. So I think it probably would have been a little better if they did that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Along the names like Swinburne and stuff like that.
Yeah.
think-
So,
It's like Portugal.llt or something. It's like, have you registered like a business name for this shit? Or like, what?
Limited incorporations.
yo, maxed
We
out
take
though
over.
is a sick name. You gonna hate on maxed out, dude?
I'm not gonna hate on it. I just think it would have been a little appropriate to use the using names. But you know, I guess it kind of shows money's not everything. Like you can have as much money and pump it into a tournament as you want, but I think the whole community aspect the SN guys are doing, I think that's kind of cool because you're getting in the heads of so many young kids and getting them involved. And if you really think about it, when those kids grow up and they want to get into it, who are they going to be the first person they talk to? It's going to be ShadowNet like, straight away, and that's kind of bringing that, I guess, that culture into esports more so than your classic sporting teams as well. Because you know, ShadowNet Warriors, that's how it is. There was Black Sheep in there,
I
but
miss
they
Black
shit the
Sheep.
bed.
I
So
miss
they
Black
shit the
Sheep.
bed. I also miss Black Sheep. They're a really nice bunch of guys. But you
Mm.
know, Warriors against ShadowNet, you've got the big sport team that just merged with Team Process, and now they're trying to do stuff. I'm not gonna touch on that too much, but I think it's kind of cool what ShadowNet's doing because Warriors didn't think of doing it, so ShadowNet did it instead, and I think ShadowNet's benefiting a little bit more than maybe what Order is at the moment because I think they're both trying to take the route of being a TO instead of an esports team, but they have teams underneath them.
Yeah.
I'm kind of interested to see how the next like 6 to 12 months goes with that, especially knowing that, you know, it's starting to bring up a little bit more, you know, in AUNZ as a whole. But I think there needs to be something in AU like that because there's nothing here, which I think is a bit disappointing personally.
And I guess to tie it up, you know, we spoke a lot about New Zealand. We got to talk about domestically. I guess what orgs, you know, as we said, Order, they've been doing bits with the Tony Hawk thing, which is a little bit interesting. The TFT thing, I think, is really cool. Of course, they've, you know, probably got backing by Riot for that, and it's always good to see Riot getting involved in, of course, the esports scene here in Australia because, you know, it was starting to fall apart for a bit. We saw the OPL crumble, and I guess rest in peace, the OPL, of course. And they did. OPL was a really sick program. Of course, ESL now taking that over and bringing League back to Oceania and I guess back to Australia as a whole, bringing some life into that. And I have to say again, it calls to the structure. New Zealand, you know, they've got a little bit more support behind them. You know, they've got a governing body, whereas Australia, we don't have, I guess, that governing support at the moment.
No, we don't have anyone backing the smaller sort of TOs, do we? We don't have anyone backing a smaller organisation to run and host these sort of tournaments, which, you know, it sucks. But eventually down the line, yeah, we'll see SL pop up with something maybe that, you know, might be cross-branded with Order or cross-branded with ShadowNet, and it might, you know, just boost the whole region in total. Or we're going to be looking like the OPL and we're going to disappear.
Wow.
All good
I
silence,
think-
boys. Fucking love
Yeah,
it.
all good,
Yeah.
all good silence.
I think
I
that's,
would have deep thought.
I think that's a way to, I guess, top things off. We've been on the mic for around about an hour and 10 minutes, I think, at the
Been on for a
moment.
bit.
So it's been it's been a good conversation. You know, an hour long is typically what you expect. You know, especially when we kind of leverage off this and figure out what we're doing. But I think it's a good way to finish things off. It's been a fun time. Again, thank you, Matt, for coming on board. I love hearing you talk shit. It's not very often we get to see your glorious face talk a bit of crap. It's always lovely to see you. But
One
yeah,
thing,
I
Joe.
think-
One thing, Joe. Matt, before you go,
Oh, yeah,
can we get a
okay,
Marge
yeah.
Simpson impersonation?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
You want Marge Simpson?
We
Marge
want Marge
Simpson.
Simpson.
Right now. And
Confident every Monday and Thursday night, all right?
Cool. Challenger. See both of
LPL.
these lovely individuals together. It's a great experience. But yeah, it's been a good time. We've covered a lot of good conversations, and again, we hope to do this hopefully weekly if there's enough stuff going on. A special guest on every week as well. Tony, Bones, and myself being the key individuals in this little, I guess, podcast or
Bringing the heat.
Bringing the heat.
production. Bringing the heat. We're bringing
We're
the
br-
heat.
We talked a lot of
for
heat.
anybody who's listening to this, you can find us pretty well either on the Fury YouTube channel, Otherwise, on Spotify, Apple Music,
Mm.
probably Podbean as well. When we get to it, we've got to slowly figure that stuff out. But it's been a good time. Appreciate everyone taking the time out of their day, despite us being tired as hell. But you know what? It's always lovely to have a discussion about esports as a whole. So, Tom, fuck you.
Oh, okay.
He's like, there's
Yeah.
the door. See you
Fair enough.
later. I'm
That's-
out.
Our bed is
Open
that
door.
way, and the kitchen is
Oh,
that
well,
way.
All
Yeah,
right.
that's how
He's
it
going
is.
off the
Matt's got,
moon.
Matt's got an angry octopus, but I think that's a good way to finish it off. Thank you to everyone for listening in today. We appreciate it. We'll see you back hopefully next week with some more esports discussions.